Happy Cyber Monday. That's where we start today, Cyber Monday 2022. And it actually could be the biggest online shopping day ever.
That is right. The holiday shopping season is already off to an impressive start for online retailers after a record-breaking Black Friday, with online sales topping $9 billion for the first time ever. Today alone, shoppers are expected to shell out an estimated $11.2 billion online. But that shopping surge also comes as inflation is pushing prices up 7.7% from last year. We have a full breakdown this morning, including info on just where you can track down the best deals with the host of YouTube's gadget game show. What the heck is that, Steve Greenberg? But we begin with NBC News business and data reporter Brian Chung. Brian, good to see you. So you're inside an Amazon facility right now in Robbinsville, New Jersey. I understand the workers are on a break right now, but how busy has it been there this morning?
Yeah, good morning, Zinkley. Good morning, Savannah. Plenty going on here at this facility in Robbinsville, New Jersey. There's conveyor belts and sorting machines and people folding out those iconic boxes already, all because of the fulfillment of those orders that we saw from Black Friday. And a lot of orders there were. Amazon saying it was a record-breaking Black Friday. Tens of millions of shoppers purchasing more items compared to previous Black Fridays. So, again, you can see a lot of the activity going on here at this facility and will continue to happen throughout the day, and more likely expected because of expected Cyber Monday sales as well. For what it's worth, MasterCard saying that Black Friday saw in-store sales increase by 12% year over year. E-commerce sales up 14% year over year, which bodes well for continued volume on this Cyber Monday, which will keep a lot of other facilities around the nation like this one very busy.
Yeah, continued volume. I'm sure that facility will get busy as the day continues. And Brian, I know you've been keeping us informed all weekend. Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, and now today, Cyber Monday. And inflation does not appear to be slowing spending as a whole, but families are still struggling from high costs, coast to coast. So how exactly are shoppers coping right now?
Yeah, certainly. And again, big looming cloud when it comes to shopping in this particular holiday season is the fact that prices on average are 7.7% higher than they were this time last year. And even though I just kind of gave you some statistics about how volumes are higher this year, think about that in dollar terms. That doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be getting more gifts with that budget, because everything across the board is more expensive. So I spoke with parents, for example, that mentioned they're going to have to make compromises, trying to recycle toys perhaps from last year so they have more budget to spend on larger ticket items this year. In some cases, they're choosing to also shop for a fewer amount of family members. So sorry to maybe some of those extended uncles. But again, higher prices causing some families to make some compromises this holiday season.
Absolutely. A lot of changes coming this year. And Brian, I know that if you've waited until today to do your shopping, there may be some changes, some differences. What do you need to know, and what should we be watching out for?
Yeah, well, first thing to know is that if you perhaps passed on a deal on Black Friday, it doesn't mean that it's necessarily over. Cyber Monday will have the opportunity for you to perhaps find some things online, but not necessarily only online. Remember that there's a lot of price matching that you could do at the likes of Target, at the likes of Best Buy. So if you see something online, maybe try to take it to your local retailer to get it in person as well. And also remember, it's not necessarily a dash just this weekend. A lot of sales are likely to bleed beyond Cyber Monday as well. So if you miss the boat here, it's not the end all. And there's some things that you might not even get a good deal on today or through the rest of the season. Things like winter gear, clothing, and boots. Those are always in demand because guess what? It's cold. Maybe wait until after the new year to get those things.
All right. Helpful information. Brian Chung, thank you.
And now let's bring in Steve Greenberg. Steve, good to have you with us this morning. So, I mean, we've been talking about inflation's impact on holiday shopping this year, just how expensive everything is. So how can we shop smart this Cyber Monday?
Well, there are so many great tools when it comes to shopping smart. You know, whether you're using Camel or Price Blink or one of the other apps that you can download that actually help you do price comparison to give you alerts when deals are coming in. Because you're working on your computer, because it is a Cyber Day, there's so many great, really terrific apps out there that can really make a difference. There's PayPal's Honey Drop List, as I said, Price Blink, Camel, and others, and even things like Centrally, which, again, all make it easier to get automatic coupons and whatnot, again, to knock down the prices even more than they already are knocked down today.
And let's talk about some specific deals we can find. What are some of the best ones you're seeing so far?
Well, I'm seeing a lot of great stuff when it comes to, for example, Alexa-enabled devices. I hate saying her name because it wakes everybody's Alexa up, but 70% off is being offered, 60% off on Ring and Blink home security devices. Even things like the American Girl doll, which never goes on sale. I'm seeing prices on the dolls and the accessories 30% off. And AT&T is giving out iPhone 14s, brand new ones, free when you do a $130 trade-in. So there are some great deals there. A Samsung 58-inch Crystal UHD 4K is 37% off at Target. So that brings the starting price down to under $400. So there's really are some excellent deals out there price-wise. And again, it's just about, getting on top of it and going through it and just being safe out there. Don't click on links that you just get. Make sure you go to the retailer's website. Check for that you're on the real retailer's website. Check for those misspellings because, again, the hackers out there and the bad guys who are out to scam you, they try to put up some close names, like instead of Best Buy, it'll be Best Buys. And if you click on that, you're going to be going down a bad wormhole. So,
wow, that's
buyer beware, please.
Yeah, that's great advice there. So, Steve, tell us what are ways that we can make sure that we don't do something like that? Checking the name, that's a great one. Anything else, URLs, thing like that?
Checking the name, go on to the retailer's website yourself. Rather than taking a click, something that's been phished to you that you've got, that you can click on and go directly to the Target site, the Walmart site, go directly onto Amazon. Don't click on a sale link that's been sent to you through your email. And again, once you are on the site, just double check to make sure that URL looks legitimate. If it doesn't look legitimate, back away, start again. Because again, you're putting your credit card information there. And try to use your credit card and not your debit card, because there's more protection with a credit card than there is with a debit card.
Great tips there. Steve Greenberg, thank you so much. Happy shopping.
Happy shopping. Check out my holiday sweater. See?
I love it.
I'm in the spirit already.
Yeah, exactly. Merry Christmas. Thanks, Steve.
And we turn now to the hectic holiday travel rush. More than 2,500 flights were delayed yesterday as severe weather in the Northeast and other parts of the country caused headaches for Americans heading home on one of the busiest travel days of the year. Here's NBC News correspondent Sam Brock with the latest.
Savannah Zinkley, good morning. We always knew that weather was the X factor here, and right now it is a much calmer start at airports nationwide. About 500 delays or so. Compare that to 6,500 back on Sunday. So certainly vast improvement there. The worst airports are Reagan, Newark, and DCA in Washington, D.C., all, of course, on the East Coast. More affected by those weather patterns. For some context, though, the thing is, under normal circumstances, when you have weather events, you're looking at about 100 to 150 cancellations per day for domestic airlines. On Sunday, it did top 100. We were looking at about 170 or so. But it was the first time all week that happened, which is to say, it's a pretty strong testament to the fact that the airlines have handled this test after a massive meltdown back on Memorial Day and slow improvements over the course of the year. But certainly, in terms of just sheer volume, Thanksgiving Day was going to be sort of the litmus for whether or not airlines can handle the situation moving forward. We know, guys, they've hired more pilots. They've trimmed back on their flight schedules. Apparently, that has largely worked, but you can't control Mother Nature. Now, the next step in all of this, of course, is going to be the Christmas holiday. Experts say you want to book about 21 days in advance. So if you are planning on flying December 22nd, December 23rd, it's only about a couple of days from now where you're going to hit that 3-week window. So book soon. As for those who hit the roads, it's close to 49 million people, and they did get one little respite, which is the gas prices came down just a bit. They're about $3.55 a gallon versus $3.70, $3.80 just a month ago. So one silver lining is so many people were driving in parking lots on highways all up and down the East Coast where that weather really slowed things down. But at least they were paying less at the pump. That's the latest here in Miami. Let me send it back to you.
Sam Brock, thanks so much.
And let's get more on this with a check on your morning news now weather.
Michelle Grossman, good morning and happy Thanksgiving, Cyber Monday, all of the things.
Yeah. Yeah, happy all around. Hi there, guys. So great to see you. I'm happy to see both of you. And we have a really busy weather week on hand. We're looking at a powerful storm system that's going to move across the country. So we're going to be watching this for the next 3 days or so. And by tomorrow, we're looking at the chance for some pretty strong, severe storms. So we'll talk about that. We're going to start on the cold side first, though. We're looking at heavy mountain snow in the west, lower elevation rain where you see the green. That is the rain along the coast of the Pacific Northwest. The blue is the snow falling. So that will be the big story today. Heavy mountain snow. We could see up to 2 feet in some spots in the highest elevations. Those levels will start to come down over the next day or two. We're also looking at really gusty winds gusting over 55 miles per hour. That's going to blow the snow around. So we're looking at difficult travel. Maybe you're headed back today from your Thanksgiving celebration. You're going to have some problems out west. Now, as we head towards tomorrow, we have really cold air filtering in behind this cold front. Frigid air, temperatures in the teens and 20s. That cold front is going to interact with really warm air. There's a lot of moisture, too, from the Gulf, and that's why we're concerned about a severe weather outbreak. And by that, we mean long tracking tornadoes, really strong tornadoes, too. Hail could be the size of baseball, and also really gusty winds gusting over 75 miles per hour. So that's the story tomorrow. You need your tornado plan in place in the lower Mississippi Valley portions of the western Ohio Valley. Then this will move off to the east as we head towards Wednesday. We're not expecting severe weather Wednesday in the east, but we're expecting really heavy rainfall. So let's start on the snowy side. We're looking at winter alerts all across the west. We're looking at winter storm warnings, winter storm watches, winter storm advisories. And again, we could see up to 2 feet of snow in some spots. That's great news for the snowpack where you see the pinks and the purples. That's where we're expecting the highest snow. Also really windy once you head further down to the south, the southwest, parts of the Four Corners. We're looking at winds gusting up to 55 miles per hour. So that alone even causes some difficult travel. But this is what we really want to highlight tomorrow. 12 million at risk for severe weather, winds gusting up to 75 miles per hour, long tracking tornadoes are possible, also really large hail. So where you see that red, the orange, portions of Tennessee, Arkansas, Louisiana into Mississippi, this is where we're most concerned for the severe weather. We're talking about the afternoon hours, the evening hours, and then unfortunately could continue into the overnight hours, and that's when it becomes particularly dangerous. Also expecting a lot of rainfall with this. That could lead to some flash flooding in portions of Mississippi, Tennessee, Alabama, also Georgia, where you see those brighter colors, the oranges and also the yellows, some reds too. We could see the heaviest rain, and that could lead to the flash flooding. So this is the problem here. It's a temperature contrast. We have really cold air to the west, temperatures in the 30s and 40s, some spots below freezing today, and then out ahead of it, we're warm. We're above average, so temperatures near 60 degrees in some spots, especially in Texas. We're going to be into the 60s, and that's going to aid some of the storms tomorrow. So notice tomorrow we're dropping down into the teens below freezing in Salt Lake City. That's 13 degrees below normal, just 14 in portions of Montana, 23 degrees in Rapid City, and then really warm ahead of this cold front. That's going to cause the problems tomorrow. So guys, we're going to be watching this very closely for you. We'll talk about it next hour, and of course, we're going to talk about it more tomorrow. Back to you.
All right, Michelle, sounds great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sure.
And turning now to Georgia, where early voting has begun for the highly anticipated Senate runoff race between incumbent Raphael Warnock and GOP challenger Herschel Walker.
Yeah, the Democratic incumbent received 35,000 more votes than Walker in the November 8th general election. Still, though, it was not enough to meet that 50% threshold required in the state of Georgia to win the race outright, and that's resulted in this runoff election. Republicans are now rallying behind Walker, hoping for a last-minute surge in votes. The Trump-backed candidate has faced a series of scandals throughout his campaign. NBC News senior political editor Mark Murray joins us now for more on this. Mark, always good to see you. So, I mean, we're already seeing this rush of voters headed for the polls in this runoff race. Now, we know control of the Senate has already been decided. So tell us what is at stake here. Why is this still a big deal?
It's a big deal because it's a 6-year term, and you're exactly right. The earlier general election ended up deciding that Democrats were going to hold control of the United States Senate no matter what ends up happening in this runoff contest next week. But this is the difference between Democrats being at 50 Senate seats plus Vice President Kamala Harris casting the tie-breaking vote, or Democrats being at a 51-49 majority. And, of course, being able to hold on to this and win this Senate seat for a 6-year term in one of the most important battleground states in America, in Georgia, is always a big deal.
And Mark, notably, Georgia Democrats, including Raphael Warnock, were petitioning a Georgia state judge for an extra day of early voting for the runoff election, and they got their wish. Local Republicans, though, say the move is meant to benefit Warnock's campaign. So what kind of turnout have we seen so far? And really, is it fair to say early voting gives an advantage to one candidate or another?
Well, we end up seeing that Democrats usually employ early voting, and particularly early in-person voting, more than Republicans do. And this is important for a lot of Democrats who believe that it's important to be able to cast votes beyond just voting on Election Day. And this was a big deal because the Warnock campaign and Democrats wanted to have one Saturday to be able for people to vote early and in person. And because of the new laws truncating the period of this runoff date, it was in question whether you would end up having a Saturday early voting, but Democrats were able to petition and get that in places in some of the large counties like Fulton County, right outside of Atlanta.
Let's talk now about what voters are saying that they care about. Of course, that's what really matters and what it really comes down to in an election. So NBC News exit polls show the top issues in Georgia were abortion for Democratic voters and immigration for Republican voters. Will those issues be enough to get people back out to the polls to presumably be voting again, or are you expecting to see a drop in voter turnout in this runoff?
Historically, Savannah, we've always seen a vote drop off in turnout. And remember, you had just come off a general election where people are casting ballots for more than just this one contest. And in the runoff, there are usually fewer people who end up participating. Although notably, when Warnock and John Ossoff ended up winning their 2021 runoffs, the drop off between the general election and runoff was not that steep at all. But so you are exactly right. People are trying to get any motivating factor whatsoever to make sure that people end up participating, because turnout is everything in this runoff election, when turnout is always smaller than in the general election.
Turnout is everything. And Mark, we know Democrats have already secured a majority in the Senate, right? That is not new. But has this changed how the two candidates, Warnock, Walker, are campaigning at all?
This is really kind of just basically the general election contest all over again. So we've actually seen both candidates attacking each other's character, past controversies. We've seen Herschel Walker, the Republican challenger, talk about Joe Biden and inflation. And so it's basically like we had all the arguments from the last month basically playing out all over again. Pretty much the same ads are running that we ended up seeing last month.
All right, Mark Murray, as always, we appreciate you. Thank you so much.
And now to the growing backlash facing former President Donald Trump and the Republican Party. The 2024 Republican presidential candidate recently had dinner with controversial musician, formerly known as Kanye West, and a white supremacist. And while Trump has faced criticism and condemnation for the dinner, members of his own party have been largely silent. NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Ali Vitale has more.
Another reckoning for the Republican Party after former President Donald Trump dined with a white supremacist at his Mar-a-Lago club.
Trump is really impressed with Nick Fuentes.
Rapper Kanye West brought Fuentes, a neo-Nazi, to dinner with Trump, who says he didn't know him. In the aftermath, silence from GOP leadership. The loudest condemnations coming from those Republicans likeliest to challenge Trump in 2024.
I hope someday we won't have to be responding to what former President Trump has said or done. In this instance, it's important to respond. It's very troubling.
Former Trump ally Chris Christie calling it another example of Trump's awful lack of judgment.
He's issued a statement and said he didn't know who those people were. But at any rate, my focus is going to be on investigating the current administration.
It comes as Republicans ready to take control of the House and ramp up oversight.
We're going to investigate between 40 and 50 different things.
Among them, COVID-19 funding and the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan.
The veterans deserve this first and foremost.
Plus, more controversial topics like Hunter Biden's laptop. But while the GOP game plan is set, who will lead the charge is not.
Let's get America back on track.
Top Republican Kevin McCarthy working to win the 218 votes he needs to become House Speaker. A handful of Republicans vowing they'll never vote for McCarthy toughens his task. And yet,
the fact is, what's the alternative here? I do think he will get the votes to 218 on January 3rd.
But even as Washington looks ahead to 2023, one key 2022 race left to run. Georgia voters flocking to the polls this weekend in that marquee Senate runoff. More than 90,000 voted already, rivaling November's midterm early voting numbers. A win here still essential, even though Democrats will already keep control of the Senate.
And lawmakers have a long to-do list before they close the book on this Congress. Election reform, same-sex marriage protections, and funding the government. All things Democrats hope to tackle in the next month.
Allie, thank you so much.
Now, this week on Meet the Press, Colorado Governor Jared Polis discussed the latest mass shooting in his state and how the nation needs to address gun violence. We also heard from Dr. Anthony Fauci on his career and the legacy he leaves behind. Meet the Press moderator Chuck Todd has the recap.
Do you think this has to come from the federal level? Is there anything more the state of Colorado can do in your mind?
Well, we're certainly going to take a hard look at why red flag law wasn't used in this case, in the case of the King Soopers shooter, what can be used to better publicize, make available, add different parties to make sure that it's used when it should be used. But, of course, the answer needs to be national as well. So, yes, it should be looked at federally, but that doesn't mean to the exclusion of mental health issues, of looking at the rhetoric that's used in the political realm and how that can instigate these acts of violence.
Assuming you're chairman of the Oversight Committee, if you've got one investigation you get to focus on, if there's just one, I know you've got a bunch you want to do, what's the one?
Well, we're going to investigate between 40 and 50 different things. We have the capacity. We'll have 25 members on the committee, and we're going to have a staff close to 70. So we have the ability to investigate a lot of things. And let's just face it, Chuck, over the past 2 years, the Democrats on the House Oversight Committee haven't investigated anything in this administration. We believe that there have been hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars wasted over the past 3 years. So that spans 2 administrations in the name of COVID. We want to have hearings on that.
Where are you on this now? I mean, everybody's always curious. Where is Fauci on the lab leak theory?
I have a completely open mind about that, despite people saying that I don't. I have a totally open mind about that. But if you look at the preponderance of evidence that has been accumulated by international group of highly respected evolutionary virologists, they feel, and they've written peer-reviewed papers on that, that the evidence strongly points to this being a natural occurrence of a jumping of a virus from a bat to an animal species to human. Hasn't been definitively proven, but the evidence on that is pretty strong.
Do you think our politics is so divisive, though, that somebody in your position just can't succeed anymore?
I'm very troubled by that, Chuck, because through all the crises I've been through, I've never seen the intensity of the divisiveness now. And if you look at public health principles, it just doesn't make any sense how you could have a divisiveness where ideological principles or ideological bents have people make decisions that have impact on their lives and the lives of their family.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.